What? Is this stuck again? There we go. Welcome. Take 3. Click. I tried doing this twice already from Lake Il Sanjo up on the hill where it's so beautiful and there's all the animals were out today. There were geese that had joined my talk that I was hoping to share with you. And it's unfortunate that I had a bad connection and I'll be back on the mountain the next time, ideally. Hi, Robin from Ojai. Great to see you. Hope all is well with you guys. So I just wanted to mention, last week I had talked about my new book, The 5 Secrets for Healing Yourself and Others. It's with the publisher, and they had sent me the interior formatted copy on Saturday, and I had a couple days to review it and make some suggestions for changes. I got it back to them on Monday, and I think we're looking at maybe 2 weeks, 3 at tops, before the book goes to print. And you can see it at drrobinlfuturan.com. Don't forget the middle initial L, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't, so that you get a notice when the book is released, and for workshops and retreats. Also last week, we talked about the retreat in Italy. I'm so excited about this retreat in Italy, in the hills in Tuscany, above the old city of Lucca, overlooking Pisa, looking towards the coast. And it's going to be 8 days, the blueprint for longevity, healing, and reaching your bliss. And everything is included except the flight. Everything's included. The lodging, 3 meals a day, vegetarian meals by a local chef using locally sourced foods and seasonal foods. We're going to have a cooking class. We're going to have workshops on healing and health. And I've not done any advertising or promotion for it yet. It's already half sold out. I think there are 9 or 10 spaces left. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you go to the website, drrobinlfuturan.com, and sign up. So these weekly talks are going to be about health and healing, and they're here for you, and for you to ask questions about illness and health, maybe something personally that you're going through, or a family or friend. And what I'm going to do is have a subject that I'll initially talk about, and then I'm going to go through research that I find, because part of my daily routine in the morning after I wake up and do my meditation is look at the latest research that's coming out in health and illness. And so I'll share some of that with you, like I'm going to today. I didn't plan on talking on a subject today, but because sound healing has come up over the last couple of weeks in several places. I met with a good friend of mine who leads drum circles, spiritual drum circles, and then the next week I met with a longtime friend who's probably the best voice coach, the best singing coach in the entire country. And I would love to tell you her name, but because I didn't talk to her before this, I can't really say who it is. Hi, Anna from Mexico City. Good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. We have to talk about a retreat in Mexico. So in addition to this meaningful conversation about voice and singing and healing, and how people are healed in the process of her coaching singing, removing blocks and barriers, and releasing inner obstacles, how healing that is for people. Hi, Anna. And then visiting a friend just a couple days ago who just came back from India, and she pulls out a singing bowl, and most people in the room weren't able to get the bowl to sing. And after this friend did, and I did, and a few little lessons in how to make the singing bowl make music, everybody was able to do it. It was really fun. So I'm going to spend a few minutes here talking about the effects of sound and voice and singing and rhythm and vibration on the brain and the body. And then I'm going to share a little research, and then I'll take some questions on health, wellness, illness, whatever it is that you might have. So in thinking about the effects of sound and voice on the body, we know that the body is composed of cells, right? There are something in the neighborhood of almost 40 trillion cells in the body. And they're specific for different areas, like there's skin cells and nerve cells, there's bone and cartilage and ligament cells and muscle cells and different cells for each organ of the body. And each of those cells are made of what? Each of those cells are made of atoms. And there are very few atoms that make up the body. Mary Woodland, how are you? I love seeing you here. It's been a long time. So there are very few atoms that make up cells. The most common ones are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Those three elements make up 99% of the composition of the body. And then the next most important ones would be nitrogen and phosphorus, which are important for life. And if we were able to boil down our entire body into the atoms, into the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, phosphorus, it would be a very small handful of elements. And these atoms, who knows how long the concept of an atom has been around? How long has it been since somebody coined the idea of an atom? Can somebody tell me? Let's hear somebody. I know you guys know or have an idea. I'm going to tell you. Okay, so most people think that the concept of an atom came up about 100 years ago, 120 years ago maybe, with Einstein. Hi, Davette. Thank you for being here. This is part of your doing, you know. So the idea of an atom isn't only 100 years old. The first idea of an atom is ancient. Leucippus, 2,500 years ago, 2,500 years ago, he and his student, who I'm drawing a blank on what his name is, starts with a D, I'll come up with it. They said that all of life was composed of these tiny components they called atoms. They said it was the smallest bit of nature and that it couldn't be divided. Also, they said that these atoms were in constant motion. So it took almost 2,500 years until Einstein's experiment with the photon that atoms were proven. And I just want to say something about that. Every single idea, concept, hypothesis, theory in science is just a belief until it's proven. And when we think about something like the atom that took 2,500 years to prove, yet it was used as the model in science all of that time because it made sense. I just want to say that just because a theory or a hypothesis isn't proven doesn't mean that it may not be true. And especially when we're talking about illness and healing and health. And I want you to understand this because part of the process in healing ourselves and others is to broaden our healing consciousness and understand that there are so many ways other than what we typically expect for therapies in health and healing. And we don't want to be stuck thinking that some new theories may not be true. So getting back to the atom, we now know that the atom is not the smallest bit of matter, that atoms can further be broken down. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I go into that a lot in the workshops and in the retreats. But what I want you to think about is that all the atoms are in constant motion. They realized that 2,500 years ago, and it's still true today. We know that all the atoms are in constant motion, and you know what? They don't touch. There's space between the atoms. There's space between cells. If we do this, here, everybody, I want you to press your hands together. Come on, everybody, press your hands. If we were on Zoom, I could see if you were doing this. But I want you to press your hands together, and if you press as hard as you can, and if we had a microscope that was powerful enough to peer down between our hands and down between the cells, we would see that there's space between the cells. The cells of our body and the atoms of our body don't actually touch. Okay, there's space. And what fills that space? Can somebody tell me? What do you think fills the space? I'm going to watch here for 1 second, see if anybody can tell me what fills the space between atoms and cells and everything else on the planet and everything else in the universe. It's energy. We talk a lot about that energy in the workshops. And so when we think about atoms being in constant motion and cells being in constant motion, it makes perfect sense that these atoms and cells would be affected by vibration. Sound is vibration, voice is vibration, singing is vibration, right? Makes complete sense that we are moved in our minds and in our bodies by sound and voice and singing. I mean, think about how you're moved by music. Music can make us feel good and happy and joyful, can make us feel excited, can make us feel sad, it can make us feel upset. We see it all the time in movies, how they use music to move us, to physically change us. So we know that sound has an effect on the body, a healing effect, and maybe an unhealing effect at times, depending on the sound and the music. Probably growing up living next to some factory that's making all kinds of banging and clanking noise day and night might not be healing and healthful to a body. But listening to beautiful music, listening to an opera, listening to whatever music moves you, rap or nu metal or whatever it is, music is healing. So I'm going to leave the subject of music and voice and healing now. There's a lot more we can talk about it. If anybody wants to say anything. Oh, you know what? I see that people are commenting, but it's not scrolling here. And Jen, you said energy. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Jen, of course, said energy. Amanda, it's good to see you, honey. And Paul, how are you? Wow, lots of cool people here today, Michael. Good to see you. So I'm going to share a little bit of research. Like I said last week, I wake up in the morning, I do my meditation, then I go through the latest research I find. It can be literally anything related to health or healing. It might be on physics or astrophysics or all the fun things that are interesting to me. And I'm going to keep what I share with you related to health, mostly, unless there's something like really fun. So here, this first one is from São Paulo University in Brazil. And there the researchers find that curcumin, also known as cumin or cumin, has anti-tumor activity for stomach cancer. They find that cumin prevents and potentially improves stomach cancer. They found a few other nutrients that do the same. Cholecalciferol, which is vitamin D. Resveratrol, which is the polyphenol found in grapes. And what they do is alter and regulate histones. And histones are what make changes in the nucleus of a cell and modify the DNA. And they're saying that this curcumin, apples, grapes, vitamin D, that they all regulate the histones in a way that prevents or cures cancer. And there's actually, when I cook and when I make smoothies, there are 3 things I always put in my smoothies and most of what I cook, and that's turmeric, cayenne, and cumin. So something to think about. They weren't talking about doses, but those are healthy things we should be having in our diet. So here's Diana, good to see you. And Mary Kate, wow, it's great, love it. The next research paper is out of the Swedish School of Sports and Health Sciences in Stockholm, Sweden. And they say you move more and you live longer. We knew that, right? Moving is important. It's not necessary for some people to go to the gym and work out for hours at a time, but doing simple things like getting off the subway 2 stop earlies and walking a bunch of blocks, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Movement is important. The next one I have here is from Rutgers University, and it's about meditation and medical students. And they found that students benefited as much from a 2-hour meditation course as students that went through an 8-week immersion course in meditation. And what's important is getting that quiet time, that centered time, bringing ourselves back to the present moment, not thinking about the past or future, and reducing stress. Meditation is really important. I'll probably do an entire talk on meditation. Next one I have here is from the Imperial College in London, and they're talking about active lifestyles to help repair nerves after spinal injuries. So they're saying that rather than lay in bed, it's important to get moving as soon as possible to regenerate nerves in the spinal cord and regenerate peripheral nerves. At one time, science thought that we're born with a certain amount of nerve cells in the brain, and over time, we lose them depending on our lifestyle, some quicker than others. But what science knows now is that we can grow new nerves in our brains until our last dying breath. And we need to change that mindset because that's even important in healing. And so in this study, they found that people who were active and healthy and regularly moving responded faster to treatment for injuries of spinal cords or nerve injuries. And of course, in this type of study, they're looking to create drugs to treat the nerves with. So they're looking for drugs to simulate what activity does. And while that will have its place for somebody who's maybe completely immobile and can't move, and to use a drug to try to stimulate the nerve would be a good thing, or somebody in a coma would be a good thing. But what we don't want to have happen, which often does in medicine, is they start giving the drug to everybody who's had any kind of a nerve injury, even though they're completely mobile and have other healthy options to recreate nerve regeneration. Okay. The next study is from the University of Bristol, And it says mindfulness is found to improve the mental health of students. And again, we know how important mindfulness is. Meditation, journaling, music, Qigong, Tai Chi, there's so many different mindful options, and we work with those in my workshops and retreats, and you can find more about those at drrobinlfuturan.com. Come to the retreats, subscribe to the website so you know when they're happening. We're going to Italy. The retreat in Italy is going to be awesome. So they found in this study that 30 minutes of daily meditation reduced stress, improved empathy, improved communication skills, improved the students' ability to manage their stress and to take tests. It also reduced the judgmental behaviors, judging others. And what is mindfulness? What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is our ability to have self-awareness of our mind and body, to be in the here and now, to be in the moment and have awareness of our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and our surrounding environments, to know how we're interacting with our environment, being completely present and calmly present to it. Not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, being in the present moment. It's a good goal to be working towards. Okay, the next research finding I have here is from the University of Alberta, and it talks about aging gracefully. And the study identifies factors for healthy memory. And this is interesting. It says that they found that healthy memory was more likely in females. Women are smarter than men, so that makes complete sense. It says that females that are educated, engaged in more social activities like hosting dinner parties and social activities, and along with novel cognitive activities like working with a computer, learning additional languages, and it reduced the heart rate, made the body healthy, and reduced the chance of losing cognitive thinking and memory, which none of us like losing memory, right? Okay, the next one we have here says that 1/3 of cancer patients are using complementary and alternative medicine. And in this, it talks about cancer patients using chiropractic, acupuncture, herbal medicine, supplements, homeopathic medicine. And what they were concerned about here mostly is that patients weren't using herbs and supplements and not telling their doctors, because some of those herbs and supplements might alter chemotherapy or radiation therapy. They do know that an excessive amount of antioxidants reduces the effectiveness of radiation therapy. So it's always important to tell our doctors what medications, herbs, and supplements we're using, but it's also important to do everything we can when we're dealing with any illness, especially cancer, and to use chiropractic and acupuncture, to use meditation, to use healing methods like biocognitive healing that we teach in our workshops and retreats. We want to be doing everything. There's so much more we can do than just the generally accepted allopathic care. And that doesn't mean not use your doctors, because that's important. In this next study from the National University of Singapore, these researchers find that eating mushrooms reduces cognitive decline. So we'll stay smarter if we eat mushrooms. And they said, let's see, they were talking about 3/4 of a cup of cooked mushrooms twice a week will reduce the chance of us losing our memory and losing our cognitive thinking. And the mushrooms they use 6 mushrooms commonly found in Singapore: golden mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, white button mushrooms, dried and canned mushrooms, and they think that any kind of mushroom will be helpful to memory. Okay, one more here. It's a short one, and it's from Penn State, and they say that avocado seed extract shows promise as an anti-inflammatory. Does anybody eat avocado pits? Who eats avocado seeds here? Jen? So in my smoothies, I put the avocado pit in my smoothie. Every day I have a raw smoothie. I'll share that with you one day. Maybe even I'll make it with you one day. But that's what I have to share today. And if anybody has a question about illness and health or anything I talked about, type it in here. You can also just send me a note or call me if you don't want to share it publicly, and I'll be glad to talk about it. But I'm going to wait just a minute here, see if anybody has a question. And if not, Anna loves avocados. Ooh, I think we all love avocados. They're really good for you. I eat a whole avocado every day. A salad typically. I make these big salads that have wild greens, arugula. I'll have oranges, apples, celery, avocado, tomato, sometimes fennel. I'll have some kind of nuts or seeds. Put a little nutritional yeast on it. I'm missing some things. I put a lot of stuff on those salads. Raisins or cranberries, and just a little organic virgin olive oil and balsamic vinegar. And let's see. All right, so come next time with some questions, or you can even send me questions before next Wednesday, and I'll talk about them next week. But I love that you guys are here. I appreciate you all, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And go to my website, drrobinlfuturan.com. Subscribe so you can keep track of what's happening and I can share with you. Thank you all for being here. I love you all, and I will see you next time. I'm going to talk to you all. All right. Bye-bye.